Hello, and welcome to San Orlando Soundwaves. I'm John Morris, and this is week 25, day 123. Today our reading is 2 Samuel 9. David asked, "Is there anyone left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now there was a servant of Saul's house named Ziba. They summoned him to appear before David, and the king said to him, "Are you Ziba?" "At your service," he replied. The king asked, "Is there no one still alive from the house of Saul to whom I can show God's kindness?" Ziba answered the king, "There is still a son of Jonathan. He is lame in both feet." "Where is he?" the king asked. Ziba answered, "He is at the house of Machir, son of Amiel, in Lo-debar." So King David had him brought from Lo-debar, from the house of Machir, son of Amiel. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. David said, "Mephibosheth, at your service," he replied. "Don't be afraid," David said to him, "for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." Mephibosheth bowed down and said, "What is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me?" Then the king summoned Ziba, Saul's steward, and said to him, "I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him and bring in the crops so that your master's grandson may be provided for. And Mephibosheth, grandson of your master, will always eat at my table." Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, "Your servant will do whatever my lord the king commands his servant to do." So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah, and all the members of Ziba's household were servants of Mephibosheth, and Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, because he always ate at the king's table. He was lame in both feet. Now, let's consider our 7 questions. 1. What does this passage say? 2. What did this passage mean to its original audience? 3. What does his passage tell us about God? And what does this passage tell us about people? 5. What does this passage demand of me? And 6. What does this passage change the way I relate to people? And 7. What does this passage prompt me to pray for God? Now, let's look at the devotional about this passage on page 141 of our book, The 7 Arrows. The history books in our Bible, primarily 1 and 2 Samuel, 1 and 2 Kings, and 1 and 2 Chronicles, tell story after story of God's work through his people. These stories are filled with murder, romance, treachery, and even a bit of comedy thrown in the mix. The story told in 2 Samuel 9 was a heartwarming testimonial to the character of David. In no way did Saul deserve David's kindness. In fact, Saul spent much of his life trying to kill David. How might you respond if someone treated you that way? You'd likely want revenge, or at least you'd want that person out of your life forever. David did the exact opposite. Upon Saul's death, he pledged to care for his family as an act of honor to the former king and out of loyalty and friendship with Saul's son, Jonathan. Mephibosheth received King David's grace, and though he couldn't walk, David brought him to his table to eat meals. Mephibosheth represents all Christians who have no right to be in God's presence, but receive grace to feast at the one true King's table each and every day. And thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you tomorrow.